In 1994, a man named Ronald Reed died in a small town in Vermont. He worked as a gas station attendant. He fixed tires for a living. He wore a safety pin to hold his coat together because he didn't want to spend money on a new one. When he died, he left behind $8 million. No lottery, no inheritance, no secret business, just a quiet, invisible machine that had been running in the background of his life for over 60 years, collecting money while he pumped gas and changed oil. That machine still exists today. Almost nobody talks about it the right way, and most people who've heard of it have no idea how strange, how mechanical, and how strangely fair it actually is. Here's why this matters right now, in this exact moment. Wages are stuck, prices aren't. For the first time in decades, the gap between what people earn from working and what they need to survive has become almost impossible to close through labor alone. You can work 60 hours a week and still lose ground. So the only real lever left is the one Ronald Reed pulled without anyone noticing. The lever that makes money without asking you to show up. Let's call it what it is. It's ownership. Specifically, ownership of small, boring slices of companies, debts, and assets that keep generating cash whether you're awake, asleep, on vacation, or dead. It sounds obvious when you say it like that. Everyone's heard of stocks. Everyone's heard of dividends. But almost nobody understands the actual mechanics of how this turns into real, life-changing money. Because the version most people are taught is either oversimplified into nonsense or buried under so much financial jargon that it becomes useless. So let's walk through how it actually works. Every publicly traded company is, legally, owned by whoever holds its shares. Not metaphorically. Legally. When you buy one share of a company, you own a sliver of its factories, its patents, its brand, its future profits. Most of the time, that sliver is so small it feels meaningless. But companies don't just sit on their profits. Many of them pay a portion of those profits directly back to owners on a schedule, like clockwork. That payment is called a dividend. Here's the part that gets skipped over. Dividends aren't charity. They're not a bonus. They're a company admitting out loud, we made more money than we know what to do with, so here's your cut. And once you own that share, you don't have to do anything else. You don't clock in. You don't answer emails. The payment shows up whether you're working, sleeping, or on the other side of the planet. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable. Most people think you need to be rich to start. That's the myth. The truth is almost worse. You need time more than money. A single share bought at 25, reinvested quietly for 40 years, will often outgrow a much larger sum invested at 50. Compounding doesn't care about your income. It cares about how long you leave it alone. But there's a darker layer underneath this, one that explains why so few people actually get rich this way, even when they technically invest. The system is built to test your patience, and patience is the one resource most people run out of first. The market doesn't move in a straight line. It drops 10%, 20%, sometimes 40%, seemingly for no reason. And every single time, a wave of people who are in it for the long term panic and sell at the exact wrong moment. The income stream doesn't fail them. They fail themselves on schedule, roughly once every 7 to 10 years, like a recurring national event nobody prepares for. Meanwhile, the ones who stay quiet, the Ronald Reeds of the world, just keep collecting. They don't check their portfolio every day. They don't try to time anything. They let the machine run in the background of an ordinary life, and decades later, the machine has quietly become worth more than the life that built it. Here's the popular myth versus the uncomfortable reality. The myth is that passive income means a side hustle, a rental property, a course you sell online, a vending machine route. Those things exist, and some of them work, but almost all of them require ongoing decisions, maintenance, or your direct involvement at some point. That's not silence. That's a second job wearing a disguise. The real silent stream is different. It requires almost no maintenance because it isn't tied to your labor at all. It's tied to ownership. And ownership doesn't get tired. Now zoom out, because this is where it gets bigger than personal finance. If ownership is the quiet engine behind long-term wealth, then the uncomfortable truth is that access to ownership has never been equal. For most of history, only a small percentage of people could even participate. The paperwork, the fees, the minimum investments kept regular workers locked out, while capital kept compounding for the people who already had it. That gap, left untouched for a few generations, is a large part of why wealth inequality doesn't just exist, it accelerates. Today, that barrier is mostly gone. Anyone with an internet connection and a few dollars can technically buy a piece of a company and let the machine start running. The tools finally exist. The mechanics are simple, and yet most people still won't do it, not because they can't, but because it doesn't feel like doing something. There's no immediate reward, no dopamine hit, no visible hustle to show for it, which leaves an odd, quiet question hanging in the air. If the machine that made a gas station attendant a millionaire is sitting in front of almost everyone right now, freely available, requiring nothing but time and patience, why does it still feel like the hardest kind of income to earn?